What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Dead Noise. I'm Chris, and thanks to the power of Zoom, I have the esteemed pleasure of talking with the frontman of the zestiest band in all the land, coming off of the biggest year of their careers with the number one song on rock radio, according to Billboard, their first arena and amphitheater tour supporting their label mates Five Finger Death Punch, as well as ringing in the resurrection of the Antichrist superstar himself, Marilyn Manson. And an even bigger year on the horizon, I'm speculating, but we're gonna find out. And that band is The Funeral Portrait, and right in front of me is Mr. Lee Jennings. How you doing, man?
I'm glad to be here. I'm hyped. This is gonna be fun.
I agree. We talked a little bit off camera, but you guys have been on my radar for a couple years now, even before I started Dead Noise and interviewing bands. So when I started that, I'm like, okay, I gotta talk to these people eventually. So I'm really glad we can make this happen.
I'm hyped. I'm hyped. It's so funny because I know we talked off, before we started recording about it, but like I felt so bad because basically for the listeners at home, our publicist set up an interview for us last week while we were in the studio, and I was like, listen, I like DM'd you. I was like, listen, I feel so bad, but we are in the middle of it right now. I mean, I was deep. I was literally recording vocals at the moment, and I was like, listen, is there any way we can move it? And you're like, yeah, of course. And we moved it to this week. So I'm very glad that it worked out.
That's rock and roll. You got to be flexible. So, and I'm sure you know all about that, having to schedule so many different things.
Oh, yes. It gets a little too crazy.
So, when your album Greetings from Suffocate City, your second debut album, I love that by the way, when that
Yep.
came out, when you were doing the rounds during that release week, you were saying how it just doesn't feel real yet because you were in the middle of that gigantic tour with Five Finger and Manson and Slaughter to Prevail. You were playing Silver Scream Con the weekend it came out, and you're like, this just doesn't feel real yet. So after a couple months of letting it sink in and topping the Billboard charts in the process, does it feel real yet?
No, I don't think it ever will. I think here's the deal. Okay. Is the idea is that we've been a band like clawing our way to this position for like 10 years, right? Yeah, some of the time, and of course it still counts, but some of the time was during COVID. So
Yep.
there wasn't much that we could do, right? Especially because we weren't releasing new music. We were just kind of dead in the water. So some of it was like this weird pause and kind of almost, I don't want to say a hiatus, but it was just such a weird time. I didn't know what to do. I was trying to Twitch stream or whatever else I could do to just pass the time for about 2 years, and then eventually we started getting it moving again, and again, I just don't think it will ever be real, even though I got this thing on the back of my wall back here, it says, number one Billboard, blah, 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 whatever. That's sick. And guess what? I could fill up the rest of this wall with people or with plaques, people, geez, but with plaques and stuff, and I think that the idea is that it will never feel real because I'm just forever grateful to be doing it. Right. And it's crazy that it's actually happening more than anything.
We're grateful that you are doing it because I know I'm not just speaking for myself. I know a lot of people who your music has helped over the years, and even if it doesn't outright, it's not like the savior. Like, that common phrase, like your music saved my life. Even if it's not that, it can get them through a hard time or it can help them process certain thoughts and feelings. I know a lot of people focus on the singles because they've been out the longest and everyone's like, oh, the rest is just filler. There is zero filler on this album. Some of the non-single tracks are just my favorites. Like, I've had the chorus to Happier Than You stuck in my head for 2.5 months now. But I really want to ask about Chernobyl because that's probably the biggest musical outlier. It's got some industrial elements and stuff like that. What was the writing process like for you guys in the process of that song, and what were you trying to achieve with that, either musically or lyrically?
So we wrote that song in January of 2020. Yeah, because basically half this record, which I'm literally looking at my computer and I got Spotify up, looking because I was before our interview, I was doing some research about our streaming numbers and what songs were doing the best because I'm building our set list for the next tour.
Oh,
And I was just trying to see what was everybody's kind of favorites and stuff. And I see that, Chernobyl's up there pretty heavy, especially for a non-single. And I was like, yo, this is kind of cool. But Chernobyl, We recorded it, or we actually wrote it in January of 2020, and it didn't make the first cut of the record. So there was a whole first cut of the record, and Chernobyl wasn't on it. Hearst for Two wasn't on it. Happier Than You wasn't on it. You're So Ugly When You Cry wasn't on it. Doom and Gloom wasn't on it. So yeah, all of those songs, which are some of my favorite songs
Me
on the
too.
record, weren't on there. And a lot of that was because there's two reasons. One, we had a completely different A&R when we first signed to Better Noise,
Mm.
which an A&R, I don't know if the people at home, is kind of our person at the label that we discuss music with. And they're the ones that say, we like, the label likes these songs, the label doesn't like these songs, do these songs. And it's funny because that person didn't like Chernobyl, didn't like, they didn't like half of the songs that we did. Literally, they didn't like half of them because they said it just didn't sound like us. And I was like, friend, we know what we sound like, and what we sound like is a song that's different every single time. And that's
Yeah.
something huge for us. Is if you listen on the record, every song sounds basically different, right? We maybe have a few that fit a little bit together, but that's kind of who we are. We're not the band released the same song twice, and that's why when people are like, so where's other Holy Water songs? It's like, no, 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 no. There's only one Holy Water. And guess what? There's only one Alien, and there's one Chernobyl, and there's one Suffocate City, and that's the way that we write, and that's the way that we are, is we don't want to release the same song twice.
And I think that's great because there's always, especially with hardcore fans, there's always like the dedicated people to a certain era. Like being an AFI fan yourself, I'm sure you know, everyone wants them to go back to Sing the Sorrow or Black Sails or anything like that. But it's like you gotta evolve. And as a fan, I really appreciate when bands do make a second and third song and not just stick to one sound. Um, and that brings me to another point with what you said about the your previous A&R not liking half the record. Um, was how many songs did you write and or record for this album that didn't make the album? Like the final version that we have now because of
I could
discussions like that.
probably like 15 songs didn't make the record, which is basically a whole other record, and there's a reason why we have our fans know of a song called Angel Wings, right? And there's a
Hmm.
reason why Angel Wings didn't make the record. And the reason why it didn't make the record is because we feel like we wrote songs that are more that not I don't want to say better because a song is subjective, right? But to me, we wrote songs that we like more. So Angel Wings just never was released, and it got replaced by another song, and I think that's kind of why some of these songs never made it or never made it past the demo section, and right now we're in the studio and who knows if any of these songs will ever make it past the demo.
I like how you kind of stay conscious of like what you guys like and what the fans might not not what they might not like, but you songs that you think are better yourselves because I think in the process of being a band like you that connects with so many people and connects with your fans on such a intimate level like you guys do, it might be easy to lose sight of like, wait, we got to make sure we connect with this too. Has there been any struggles with that?
No, I yes and no. Okay, so there is certain songs on the record that I think we all were like, we know that people are going to really connect with this, so we're going to keep them on the record, right? Or there's also songs on the record that like we were like we complete, and the thing is we write for us, and I think that's the thing is going forward too. We're not writing for our fans, right? Like I don't want to do that, and that's just not who we are. We write for ourselves, we write for what we're going through, we write for so that way we are us, all the time. I don't ever write a song and be like, I know they're gonna love that, so we're gonna write it, like I'm just hopeful that yeah that other people enjoy it, and that's all I can really do, is be hopeful that someone else enjoys it, and I think that's the way to look at it, right? And as soon as you start writing, to me, again, as soon as you start writing for other people, you kind of lose sight of truly what is your band.
I've never heard it expressed like that, but you're absolutely right. I think I can think of a couple examples of bands off the top of my head that kind of fit into that category. Um, Another thing that struck me about this album was the artwork. I'm a big fan of albums as a collective body of work, so I'm into the liner notes, the artwork, I'm into everything. So I really want to ask about like who did the art, what image or um what were you trying to convey with it as far as how it connects sonically to the record?
Yeah, so we started the artwork really started taking place when we released Voodoo Doll. You know, we from way back then, which was 2 years ago, 2 years and 2 months, I think something like that. We released Voodoo Doll. I remember Caleb and I, we were thinking of an idea, and that idea was to have icons, right? And the whole idea is to have every song have their own icon, and that was our vision, right? And then it became like, oh wow, that's a lot of work. It also didn't fit. It didn't feel right. Like we had this issue of being like, well, like I don't think everything should have that. I think or maybe down the line you get to discover it. Even on the next record cycle, maybe then you get to finally meet the Hearst for Two one or whatever it is. You know, I think that's more where we're at is developing the characters kind of came first. Um, but a little bit of, we were like, kind of go with the flow. And the reason why is because the label determined what was next always, right? And that's any label most of the time, right? Unless you're a big band that can call their own shots. It was very like, okay, well, the label was like, okay, hey, Voodoo Doll is going to be the first single. Um, here's a budget, do what you will. And so we did the artwork and we did the music video and we were like, boom. And people were like, oh, I love this character. What is her? And I was like, oh, it's the angel. And then guess what? We started bringing her out on stage in our Atlanta shows. And then it was like, well, now we started something. So then came the alien, then came the night terror, then came the guide, then came, whatever it was. It just was one thing after the next. And for us, um, I the original name of the record wasn't Greetings from Suffocate City. It was something extremely long, and it made it sound like we were the 1975. It was like this super long name, and I'm not spilling the beans. But maybe one day I will. But the whole idea is that it just wasn't us. And Suffocate City just felt like this world that we were building. It was becoming real. So we were like, like a postcard, Greetings from Suffocate City, and then the postcard actually happened in real life. And then it was like, well, that will be the artwork. We really wanted, like, it was going to be Greetings from Suffocate City, like a postcard, or if you
Hmm.
go like a billboard, and each one of the letters was going to have one of the icons in it. And then we were like, that's going to be too busy. I kind of mocked it up really poorly on Photoshop. I do a lot of our designs pre what they become
Hmm.
on Photoshop, and then I send them to a designer to work on. But I started working on it. I was like, this is not going to work. So I went back to the drawing board and we were like, what about a statue out in front of Suffocate City? And it's like this shrine to the protectors. Yeah, I see you looking at it right now. I've got it too, right? I got it right here. But yeah, so these though, they're actually real people in a brand new version of their costumes. And they are gray. They're like all grayed out and everything. And those are real. I have the costumes for this as well. And our friend Chloe, who she did a lot of our icon work for a while, and now it's Danny who does all of our icon work and does my makeup, she does everything now. I would be in probably prison without her because she keeps me on track. But one of those things is Caleb and I, come up with a lot of these ideas and we shoot them back and forth together. And then we're like, okay. Then we bring it to James, who has done a lot of our music videos. And then we bring it to Aaron Marsh, who has done he's done all the cover artworks. He's done all the singles, all the stuff. And he's the guy who designed everything and made it look all cool and stuff. And, it's one of those things we never thought us would be on a cover either, in Suffocate City, the single artwork for that over there was on accident. And this is me spilling more beans. The cover artwork for You're So Ugly When You Cry was actually supposed to be the cover artwork for Suffocate City. Because originally Suffocate City was supposed to come out before You're So Ugly. But last minute they switched it on us, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, so let's just use that artwork for that, and then we'll make something new. And then when they're like, hey, you need to make something new, I was like, I don't. So what we did is we took this artwork, which was a photo from this photo shoot, because this is like an actual photo shoot. Like the background was just a green screen, but
Hmm.
this was actually real. And same with this was actually real. And so we took a photo shoot from that. So we took like photos from that and put it together.
That's incredible.
I know that's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. But we're a very visual band, and
Oh
we
yeah.
it's very important to us, and everything has to fit in this our world.
And that's what I love. That's one of the many things I love about you guys is how aesthetically driven you guys are. And it all has to be uniform and it all has to fit into this world building that you have with Suffocate City and whatever comes after with these upcoming albums. Yes, I use plural because I hope you guys go on forever.
Which is a thing though, we don't know what's next. That's right now we're working on the music, because again, the
Mhm.
music should always come first for us.
Yep.
That's the most important thing to me, and it will be, and for us as a band, and then the aesthetics, and then the videos, and then everything else. But we have some visions. We have Caleb and I are the two that share the most with all that. The other boys, they're very creative, but they show up and they play their instruments, and they're really good at that. And they listen to Caleb and I yap and yap and yap. And they're normally cool with everything. Every once in a while, they give a really cool idea. And hey, their ideas though, those 3%, that 3% or 4% that they all contribute, wouldn't be the funeral portrait without them on the creative side, and that's very important too.
Well, to have all five of you guys inputting both creatively, musically, aesthetically, that's an awesome thing. And because I know a lot of bands, they kind of leave it to one or two members to do everything. But like
Yes.
you guys are such I'm going to keep using this word, you guys are such a unit and it shows both on stage and in the music. Because the music itself is incredibly solid. The record sounds amazing. Even I love the re-recorded version of Holy Water on this album. Doom and Gloom is look, Alien is probably always going to be my favorite song of yours, but Doom and Gloom from a musical standpoint hits that bracket too. Um,
Mm.
but I do want to ask about the features that you've had on this album because you've had not only have you had some big names, but you've checked off a couple childhood heroes off the bucket list. And I love that video of you reacting to hearing Bert on your song from the Used. Um,
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
did you have any I know it kind of went through like managers or anything or managers, publicists, I don't remember who, but it was like all behind the scenes. Did you ever hear from him one on one?
I did. The day, so because the whole story is, and if I know you probably know it, but I don't know if your listeners or my listeners know. Um, but basically, You're So Ugly When You Cry, we recorded it in December of last year, and we finally got it mixed and mastered. We got it done in like February, and then we were just all trying to be like, okay, well, we need like the label really wanted a cool feature on it, and I was like, okay, well, I think it would be cool. What about Bert from the Used, And it was like our lawyer and our A&R were like, hey, guess what? We know his manager. Let's send it to him. Send it to him. And the next thing I know is apparently Bert was listening to it and loved it and wanted to be on it. And we were like, what? And then I sent them the files. He literally recorded it on his birthday, which was like crazy. He was like in the studio. I think he was working on his solo record that just recently came out. And he sent it back, and I heard the demo version, and I was like, this is insane. Bert is on the song, but he wasn't even just on the song. He's like on half of the song. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like he's singing a whole verse, the chorus, and then he sings like everything with me, like at the end. It's just like a whole situation. So I was like, this is pretty cool. So it was a really wild idea. But yes, so the day that it was released, I got a text from a random number, and it was Bert. and he said how awesome of a band we are and how proud he is of us and all these like just all these things. And I'm like, what? This is insane. It was such like I'm not joking. It was like one of the wildest days of my life. It was just magical. It was a very magical moment.
That's I love that story. I don't care how many times you tell that story, even if you're sick of telling it. I love hearing it. It's so
I'll
great.
never be sick of telling that story. That story was insane.
Now I don't know if it's an obvious indicator looking at my background, but I'm sure you know I really want to ask about the Suffocate City feature with Spencer from Ice Nine Kills. Because I grew up loving Ice Nine Kills. I've been a fan for like, I don't know, 10, 11 years now. And becoming a fan of you guys over the last 2 or 3 years, to see you guys work together was amazing. If I'm not mistaken, because I know he recognized you guys from Silver Scream Con the first time you guys played there, but didn't you also book shows for Ice Nine Kills when they were like in your area or anything like
Yeah,
that?
so it's kind of crazy. So I used to help run a all ages venue in my local area, and Ice Nine played there probably like 5 times. I have to go back through my emails because I still have a lot of those old emails, and I believe they played there 5 times to probably about 10 people every time, right? I think the last time maybe there was 50,
Oh,
maybe, you know but and then it was kind of one thing after the next, and I just I was like, oh, this band's gonna be cool one day. I think I believe in them. And I really liked how Spencer's drive and his passion. And it's so funny because Rob, our bassist, he has just no his old band actually has a really old feature from Spencer Charnas, which was crazy because they ran in the same circles. I'm talking about like 15 years ago.
hmm.
And it was kind of one of those situations. And it was just one thing after the next. And he had heard of us multiple times. And then he was like, hey, our manager helped run Silver Scream Con with him.
Oh,
And so it was one of those things that our manager was like, hey, Spencer, check out this band. I just started managing them. I think it would be a great addition to Silver Scream Con. And he checked us out and he's like, yeah, sure, they can open. So we opened and it went extremely well. And he was super impressed. And next thing I know, he's like, hey, let's feature on let's do a song together. And I was like, okay. And so I sent him Suffocate City and he loved it. He like really loved it. And he believed in it. And he was like, hey, let's do it. So he did his parts. And then next thing I know, I sent him the treatment for the music video and he loved it because he loved playing like a villain character, and he was super down and he was in the video and it was a whole thing. I don't know. It was just one thing after the next has just been insane. And then just now, we gave him his first #1 single, like he's a part of it. It's not just he has a feature, right? Because like he has a part of it, he is a part of it. So like we just recently sent him his own plaque. I believe he's
oh,
getting it in a week or two. So which is just in time for Christmas. Merry Christmas, Mr. Charnas. So yeah, so it's been kind of crazy. It's been a wild ride.
yeah, no kidding. It's crazy how things can go full circle like that because the first time I ever saw Ice Nine Kills was when they did that co-headliner with From Ashes to New about 6 years ago.
That's
And I
so
know
funny. So
Rob,
Rob, our bassist, was the merch guy for From Ashes to New.
yep. And I was just about see, we're on the same wavelength.
Yep, exactly.
Did Spencer remember you and him from
So
those?
he remembered Rob. He's remembered Rob multiple times, and we've been in the same circle for so long. We've seen Ice Nine Kills like a million times.
Mhm.
Anytime they come to town, we know their whole team. We know the other guys in the band. We know their. I mean, from everyone, I became extremely close while Chevy was involved,
Mhm.
and all that, and Dawn, their TM, and like everybody on that team, we've been involved with or known and just stayed in touch with. So it's always a great family reunion almost every time that we get to see them.
I'm looking forward to the day you guys tour together. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Listen, my friend, I'm trying. Okay, I'm over here. I'm over here, like let me in. Like to Charnas's mansion. I'm over here just being like, let me in. Like
I mean,
one day
what's
we'll see. I think it's one of those things that I think everybody is like, oh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and so are we. But I don't. I think it's just right now. I don't even know what they have planned for next year. I know they're doing more
No.
Metallica, and I think they got a new record they got to do.
Yeah,
I
they
think
do.
I think they need a new record. I think everybody agrees.
Yeah, I mean, I love Welcome to Horrorwood as much as the next guy. That's one of my all-time favorite albums, but I am craving a new album just because, like I said, I'm an album guy. So to have a full album from Ice Nine Kills again, and just to see if they can top Welcome to Horrorwood, I have all the faith in the world that they can do it. I just want to hear it for myself, you know?
Listen, that single that they just came out with, the Art the Clown one, oh my God, what is it called?
A work of art.
Yes. I was like, they they did it. Like they released a banger, and I think it's one of those things that they've done some of the covers. I think they released some covers and stuff, and
Hmm.
whatever. And like I was like, okay, whatever, but then like this single, I was like, okay, go off.
I was in the theater for the music video because I saw the double feature of Terrifier 2 and 3, and everybody in the theater stayed to watch the music video at the end too, so that was really cool.
Yeah. We
Um,
were on tour and there was no double like the none of the ones were doing it at the time that when we were on tour.
oh God, that sucks. I
I
know
know.
you saw, didn't you see Beetlejuice on tour too?
Yeah, we saw dude, we were on tour for like 5 months. So yeah, we saw Beetlejuice, we saw Terrifier. Uh I think those are the only two that we saw. Because again, we didn't really have much time anyways. So
Yeah, well, when you pack out gigantic rooms like you did over the summer, you kind of get a little busy.
it was. It
Um,
was a little crazy.
Well, to that point, like I said earlier, you got the chance to open for your label mates in Five Finger Death Punch. It was also a gigantic, highly publicized moment of having Marilyn Manson back for his first tour in 5 years. And you also have Slaughtered to Prevail on the lineup, which is every band that sounds completely different from each other. But as a fan of so many different genres, I loved it. Um, it, I do feel like for you guys being the very first band and with your guys' sound, you were a bit of an outlier, but it worked so well. So I would love to hear from your perspective how the whole tour went as an experience, both meeting new fans and working with those artists. Anything you want to say about that
Yeah,
experience?
it was kind of wild. Again, it was very out of the blue, to be real. It was not planned. It was very like I answered a phone call one day and it was like, hey, you guys are going on this tour. And I'm like, okay. Like I wasn't we weren't like planning on it. It's nothing that we like planned on for many years, or anything. Like it was literally we needed a tour to release our record on, and Five Finger Death Punch listened to our music and they were like, I want a young band to open the show. Who do you got? And we're label mates, and so Better Noise was like, I got the Funeral Portrait, go listen to them. And they were like, okay, listen to them. Okay, they're cool, let's put them on. Boom. That's it. And next thing I know is we're on this tour and we're doing all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, it was literally just insane. Like the first show had like 17,000 people at it. It was like
Yeah.
insane. It was at Hershey Park Stadium. It was a stadium, not even an arena or an amphitheater. It was a stadium. And it was one of those moments of just being like I can't even remember most of it because I was just flying by and things are just so crazy. But I mean I do, but it was just one of those things of being like, I think for us, I never thought that our band would ever even play an arena. I never thought that we'd play a stadium. I never thought that we'd play an amphitheater. Maybe Warped Tour would come back and we'd play an amphitheater, because they had the amphitheater stages, but that was it, like, and of course now Warped Tour is back, but it's still one of those things that it's like, for us, I never thought that we would get any of those opportunities that we got. And that's because Five Finger took a chance on our band, our label took a chance on our band, and now we have that little plaque in the back and that wouldn't have happened if we didn't have that tour. And also we wouldn't be selling the tickets that we're selling for these upcoming tours or these upcoming shows. And for us, we're just kind of writing it out and just hopefully we can kind of top it and keep it going, keeping the vibe of our band alive, and hope we can just build, because again, like, I don't know, I believe in this band and I believe in what we're doing. I just don't, I think it's scary being like, okay, well, we've done this so far. How do we get to the next step? And
Mm.
that next step is, going from hopefully selling out. We're going from selling out 300 cap venues, ourselves, to then hopefully selling out 600 or 500 cap venues ourselves, and then hopefully then 1,000, or whatever it is. And I think a lot is going to be on this next year of the tours that we do, and we're going to prove ourselves. We are a very live band, as seeing us, it's part of it is our show, and we're so excited to bring that show to life even more next year.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just putting this out there. I know Hooligans Live is a 700, 750 cap venue, and you already have a history of playing there, so I think you could sell that place out eventually. Um,
That's a
Look,
plan. That is a goal. But our goal is to kind of do that, and hopefully by late next year we can do that.
I don't know who I got to talk to, aka Johnny Cut, if you're watching this, to make that show happen, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way, but we would love to have you guys back in
I
Jacksonville.
agree. I agree. I'd love to be back because we love that venue and we love Johnny. So
Johnny's the GOAT. Oh my God,
he
he's so
is.
cool.
He is.
Um, Now, as far as the album goes, back to the album, a highlight of the album for all your fans was Stay Weird, and I know that's a highlight for you too. And it's for people who might not know this, it's like a letter from your current self to your younger self. So if 14-year-old Lee was to hear this album and that song in particular, how do you think he would react to what you and your band are doing?
I think he would be so surprised. I think a few things. I think number one, he'd be surprised that we lasted this long as a human, to be real. I don't know. I grew up not really thinking that I would be on this earth forever or for a long time. And I think a lot of that comes from my self-love or, the places that I've been or what it is. And I think also he would just be proud that we're doing what we love. I love to perform, I love to talk, I love to just be present, I love to love. I love to love everybody, and I love to find great things in everyone. And I think Stay Weird is an anthem. I think it is, and I think it's going to grow. I think give it a little bit more time, and that could be a really big song, because I believe in it. I really do believe in it, and I think it's just a sleeper. I think it's that like last track of our record cycle kind of song that like
Mhm.
eventually it's gonna blow up, and people are gonna be like, "Oh my god, I knew that song was gonna do it."
That's how I am with Motionless in White with their songs like Another Life and Thoughts and Prayers. It's like I hear the album when it comes out, I'm like, that's gonna be a single. That's kind of how I feel with them. Stay Weird, like you said. And I think it's a really I've got a track by track reaction to this album coming out, probably around the same time that this interview is gonna be up. And one thing I mentioned was how it feels so anthemic and it's made for big rooms and it's made for like amphitheaters and the places that you played over the summer because it's got like that gigantic energy. And just as someone who hasn't seen you guys after the album came out yet, I feel like that's a big moment on stage too. Am I
It
correct
is.
in assuming that?
No, you're right. It's kind of crazy. We do like it starts off just piano, so it's Caleb and I. That's it, and then we kind of move it into full band, and it's supposed to be this big moment, and I think it works. I think it's been really cool. We're gonna be playing it. I think we're gonna play it on this next tour. So, I think it's one of those things that it's something that we don't know what's going to happen with it, right? So like I think just give it some time and we'll see. Again, a lot of fans are connecting with it. I connect with it a lot, and I think it's going to be a fun track. Especially it's so cool to hear it when everybody's screaming along to it and basically crying their eyes out.
That's always a fun moment. Um, Now, like you said, there are some songs that didn't make the album, and as a fan, I'm kind of bitter that Hearst for Two is not on the physical version of, like it's not on the CD. But is there a chance
There's a
that?
there's a reason.
Oh, okay,
Basically that song wasn't supposed to be on the record.
that's right. I forgot about that.
That song got put on the record last minute, and so we didn't have enough time to put it on the physicals because all the physicals were done. So we were
Mhm.
like, screw it, it's just going to be a streaming song. But guess what, it's become a fan favorite. So if we do like a deluxe edition or something, I'm sure it'll be on there.
That's exactly what my question was gonna be. Um,
if if we do one. I don't know what's next. Again, I think right now we're just writing songs. We're just seeing what's happening. We do have, I said we had like 15 B-sides basically. We can
yeah.
release a whole B-side record if we wanted to, like I think with our band though, like we just want to keep releasing music. That's why we did the new version of Casanova,
Yeah.
is we just like we're just trying to just keep things moving, and if people want to listen, they want to listen. If they don't like the song, they don't like the song. Move on.
I'm glad you mentioned the new version of Casanova because I love how different you guys sound from like the previous lineup to now, and even Cosmoscope. I love Godzilla, obviously. Um,
I
but
do too. I have so much. Let's hopefully I don't make every, but I have so much Godzilla stuff in my studio here. It's like everywhere. Oh, I
yeah,
love that. Yeah. I can't move anything else. It's probably the only one I can move, but
same. Um,
that's
but
sick.
but like to revisit that a song like Casanova and rearrange it into something that fits your sound now. What was that rewriting experience like, and how does it feel to see the fans' reaction to it?
It's cool because we just wanted to do something fun for everyone to celebrate being a band for 10 years, and I didn't want to do another cover song. I think the label really wanted us to release something new, right? Or something that but wasn't a new song but was something. And I was like, "Hey, what if we do Casanova revisited?" And they were like, "Love the idea." So, we all just sat down in a room for about a day and a half and just jammed it out onto my computer. Literally, we just sat with our buddy Lee Rouse, who's done a lot of producing for us and mixing and engineering for us, and we just sat literally in my studio right here and jammed it out for 2 days in between the Five Finger Death Punch tour and our tour with the Who / our headlining dates. So literally, we had like, I'm not joking, we literally sat a day and a half and then we went on tour.
That's crazy.
Yep. And then it got mixed while we were on tour, and we were checking mixing notes on like the speakers in the RV.
Wow. I mean, I remember I forgot how fast that turnaround was for you guys because I remember when I first reached out to interview you guys, it was between the Five Finger tour and your headlining tour, and I was like, oh wait, they got like 3 days.
Yeah.
That's
We
insane.
had technically 2 weeks, right? And with it though, like one of the weeks was us getting ready for the next tour
Mm.
and to do that Casanova track. And then the other week I was at Disney World like celebrating my birthday and just doing my yearly Halloween stuff and at Universal Studios and at Disney World. So it was like, and then it was just go time. It was back on tour.
How has the downtime been so far with these last couple weeks? Have you had a chance to really relax at all? Well,
Not
well, no, you
really.
were at the studio last
I
week.
was. I was in the studio. I was in LA last week, but not really.
Jesus.
Even on top of that, I've been just so busy. Christmas is a huge deal for my family.
Mm.
As everybody will see very soon, I'll post all of our stuff. But I go out to the yard and we decorate the whole entire house. We're that family.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the first week we were home, my mom and I did all that stuff, and then it was like, okay, we're back in the studio, and then this week, later on this week, I'm back in the studio, and so it's not. I don't have any downtime. But the thing is like I don't care. I don't know. Like I'm living this life. This is the life I've always wanted. And I'm excited for it every single day. That I get to wake up and I get to do this for a living. And it's paying my bills. I'm not making money off of it. But I'm paying my bills. I'm doing this. Like we are actually living the dream for once. And it feels good. It feels good to be real.
I'm sure because I just as a fan looking on the outside, it's really cool to see like bands you follow and have a big interest in like reach those next steps and to see you guys having the success that you have. I mean, topping the Billboard charts, doing all this stuff. I'm like, man, I feel like a grandparent. I'm so proud of these guys.
Well, the thing is so much has changed so fast, right? It was like in the last 6 months is when it's all happened, and we're just hoping that it keeps changing and keeps growing. And I think it will. I think we're slowly getting there. I think it's a little at a time. I think next year is going to be really the funeral portraits year.
Mhm.
I think I hope to have new music out sooner than later as well, on top of us touring. So we'll see what happens.
Is there any pressure from the label or any other outside behind the scenes people about having a fast turnaround with how big this year has been and also having like this Greetings from Suffocate City taking like 6 years to come out?
Um, Not really. Yes and no. I think some of it is from us. Like we want it
Mm.
because again, it took us like 6 years to do this record. I don't want to do that again. I want a new record out sooner than later, and I think we've also on this record we explored a lot of what is the funeral portrait, and I think now we've kind of found that we're the funeral portrait and we just kind of do what we want. We have songs that sound like super radio songs, like we could go on tour 3 days grace, or
Yeah.
we have songs that sound like we could go on tour if Sign Kills, or we have songs that sound like we could go on tour of Nothing But Thieves or something like that, or songs that sound like we could go on tour of Marilyn Manson, and it's like that's who we are. You have a song like Dopamine, that sounds like a Radiohead song or Nothing But Thieves song, but we also have Suffocate City, featuring Spencer Charnas, If Sign Kills. Like it's all over the place, and I can promise you the next record is going to still be all over the place because that's who we are. We finally found who we are, and that's why again you can listen to the new version of Casanova, and there's a breakdown in there.
Yeah. That's a great example. That breakdown threw me for a loop too. I remember listening to the old version of Casanova, and then when the new one came out, I listened to them back to back. I was like, wait a minute, was that a breakdown?
We wanted to give it to them.
And we appreciate you for it.
I'm glad.
Um, Now, something like we've said earlier, your music does resonate with a lot of people and in very big and important ways. And I'm sure there's some pressure as an artist. I know Bonnie from Stand Atlantic said like she wasn't prepared for like that kind of responsibility in a way to kind of like be that voice for somebody if they're like going through it, you know? But I know I remember listening to interviews with you and saying like you want to help people with your music. You're excited to do that.
Yeah,
Do you
well,
feel
that's
any
us.
pressure about that? Like,
Yes and no, but at the same time, I am who I am, right? And like, take it or leave it, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, I am me and I like to help people. And that's who I feel like I feel like I was put on this earth to help people, no
mhm.
matter what position it is, like my friends, my family, my partner, whatever it is, right? Whatever situation it is, but also my I, fans, like the people that I interact with. Like, I like helping people. I'm a helper and I want to keep helping people. And that's why this music is so important to me.
That's a great thing to hear. Because, like, you always wonder, it's like, when a band reaches a certain level, it's like, does this mean as much to them anymore? But, like, you guys, you guys are authentically yourselves and on stage in the studio. So, again, I think that's a great thing. And to see you guys really flying that flag and actually walking the walk is really cool. Um,
That's what our band is, and that's why I don't want to say that we're different than a lot of other bands, but I kind of think so. I think that's something very special about our band, and that's maybe why it is working kind of now, more than ever before. Before we released Voodoo Doll, we had like 35,000 monthly listeners. You know what I mean? Like, and
mhm.
then Voodoo Doll came out and we got close to like, I think we like doubled, right? We got like close to 100, and then Alien, and then we got a little bit more. We got like 120. And then this came out, and then that came out, right? And then right when we released the record, we had like 500,000, and now we're sitting at close to 400 every day. And it's like, for us, if that many people are listening, how insane is that? Like, and it's one of those things that I see the numbers, and I see that it's repetitive. I see that it's people actually coming back, and it's growing. And it's for us, you know, I know so many of our fans by name, and I try and keep it that way. And I'm going to try and keep it that way because that's so important to me, is having these conversations with people and being like, just making sure that people are okay is so important to me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another big thing too, the fact that I'm pretty sure you run all the socials on your own, right? And with how much your band has exploded just over the last couple months, I'm sure that can get overbearing in itself. How has it been adjusting to like tripling and quadrupling of the amount of messages that you get and stuff like that, and trying to keep up with that.
It sucks some days. Some days are harder than the others, and guess what? I just stopped answering then. Like it's one of those things that I just don't answer, and then I will feel bad, and then I'll be like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." But at the same time, like you'll know when I'm like more active, right, or not. And it's one of those things that it's like I don't know. It's another important part is the band social, being social and being active and posting and trying to see what catches. And right now I'm going through a lot of our old reels that I posted over the past 2 years and reposting them
Hmm.
for a lot of our new fans that weren't there, to see what they missed, and we're we're just seeing what happens. But I love running the socials and I love talking to people. I love, seeing what they think about stuff.
Now, having just gotten back from the studio last week, I'm sure that it's very early in the stages of new music, but is there anything that you can say about the music that's going to come out within over the next year or so? Like a certain sound you guys are going for or following
Um,
up to the world building or
I
anything like
think we're
that?
doing. I think what it is it's going to be a little bit more direct lyrically.
Mm.
So it's going to be a little bit more of the doom and gloom style songwriting, where or you're so ugly when you cry, and a lot of that comes with the fact of Caleb is one of the main songwriters for us now, and he wasn't for some of the songs, but like I think that style of lyrically is going to be there. I think we're still going to have our very radio songs and our very emo songs, and that's where we're going to sit. Is the song's going to be emo, or it's going to be radio, or it's going to be the mix of both, and that's we're like an emo band with riffs, right? And that's where we're at, right? And maybe there'll be a new country emo song or something. I don't know. We're gonna play. We're gonna have fun. I think the next record we're gonna have a little bit more fun with it. Because we like to be very tongue in cheek. We like to be a little sassy, and zesty, as people like to call us, And I think with the next record, we're gonna play a little bit more into it. I think we're gonna dive a little deeper and get a little bit more. I don't want to say weirder, but a little bit more zesty.
Instead of Stay Weird, it's going the closing track's going to be Stay Zesty.
There you go. Zesty AF. The closing,
Zesty
the closing,
AF.
Stay zesty AF.
Oh my goodness. So next year, um, like we've said, you had a gigantic 2024, and the year's not even over yet, but 2025 looks like it's going to be pretty massive for you guys too, because you guys are playing more Danny Wimmer festivals. I'll be seeing you at Welcome to Rockville, and you guys are also going across the pond to Download, the
We are.
probably the biggest festival known to man. So like,
Yes.
how
It's
excited are you for that?
insane. Insane. I can't believe it. When they reached down, they're like, hey, we want you guys. I was like, oh my God, no freaking way. Like, we were on tour with The Who, and I just remember we were at the Buffalo show, and I got a call from our manager, and he's like, hey, the Download wants you guys, but we have to say yes within 24 hours. So I was like, okay, yes, and it was like, oh my God, and it's cool. But we're gonna do some more shows. I think we're gonna try and do a full world tour, next year. I think we want to just be on tour. I think the
Wow.
whole idea is yes, worry about music, but I really want to focus so much more on touring next year. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do some headlining dates. This is my game plan in my brain. Okay. Headlining dates right into Catch Your Breath, right after because we're about to announce these headlining shows, which is just kind of routing shows to Catch Your Breath. We do
Mm.
Catch Your Breath tour, and then we're working on another U.S. tour with a bigger band that hopefully we will get. It's a very whole situation, and then the next thing after that is go to Europe, do all of Europe, come home, do another U.S. tour, and then hopefully do Australia, and then because we got to do some of the festivals here in the states,
Mm.
which would be the summer. Then hopefully we do this. We're going to try and do Canada as well, like do a full Canadian run, and then hopefully go to Australia, and then after Australia, do our own headlining actual big tour that we do full out. Try and bring some of the icons to life. Try and do full production. Just come out swinging.
See, I think that's incredible, but also like Australia terrifies me because everything there can kill you. Um, But I imagine, like, I also grew up watching The Crocodile Hunter, so like I
Me too, me
love
too. That's why I'm so
Australia.
excited. That's why I really want to go over there. I want to go to the Australian Zoo. I want to go and experience it. But I think we have so many fans over there that really want us to come over there. And I don't think a lot of younger bands from the US go because it's expensive.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know, we just have the I think the opportunity is coming our way. So hopefully we'll make it happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, f fingers crossed for sure. I think you guys would do very well there because the a lot of people might not know this, but the Australian music scene is incredible. There are so many good bands that come from there,
Oh yes.
and I think you guys would fit right in with them. You guys could put together a great package of just you and a bunch of Australian bands.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll happen. So fingers crossed.
How many messages or comments have you gotten asking you to come to Brazil?
A lot. Hopefully we can do that too. I really want to. We want to do like Mexico. We want to do like South America. You know what I mean? I think that would be cool. I don't know if we can get it done next year. I think it just depends, but I just don't know what we're gonna fully do yet. So
Mhm. Well, I think, like you said, the idea of doing what you did in Atlanta last month and just bringing that all over the country or even all over the world, that's an incredible goal.
that is
Um,
that is my goal. I think hopefully it happens. We'll see. The only way that we can make it happen is by people coming out to shows and buying tickets and buying merch, I guess. But I don't really care about the merch. Just come see the show. Just come support. You know.
I like the merch. I need
I
a,
know, I do too, but I don't want to ask too much of people. I just want them to come enjoy the show. I want them to come enjoy their time.
oh yeah, for sure. Next time I see you guys, I need to get one of those Bucky shirts. Um, well, if whether it's from the stage or the studio perspective, if you could have one like bucket list item checked off next year in 2025, what would it be?
Well, I think what I really want to do, I want to bring that show that we did in Atlanta everywhere. I think that's the whole situation, right? I think that's the funeral portrait. We decided that night, that's what we are. We are this theatrical, larger than life band. And I want to play these Danny Wimmer festivals and I want to bring them out. I want to do the whole nine, I say nine, but ice nine, like what they do. I think I look up so much to not just that band, but every band like that. I know Motionless does it, to Rob Zombie, to Manson used to do it. Manson's a little bit more stripped down now, but that's what he needed to do. But
Yeah.
I think with us, we want to do this larger than life theatrical show, and hopefully we're able to do that.
See, I grew up listening to Alice Cooper. I think he's like the GOAT in my opinion. So like the theatricality
Yes.
aspect, I love when new bands do that. Like when Ice Nine Kills
Yes.
started doing it, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. When I saw you guys in Silver Spring, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited to see you guys again next year. Hopefully more than once. We'll see what happens.
Yes. Definitely. Definitely. We'll
Oh,
make it happen.
oh, absolutely. If if Rockville isn't insanely chaotic, I hope we run into each other after your set or something like that.
Yeah. Just hit me up. I'll be around.
For sure. Before I let you go, this is my favorite part of every interview. I've got a speed round for you. I've got 10 questions. It's kind of rapid fire. If you want to elaborate on certain things, you absolutely can.
All
Um,
right.
so the first question, your favorite song to play live,
Ooh. Blood Mother.
favorite city to play in.
Now Atlanta.
Oh, well, that's fair.
It wasn't though. I'll be honest, it wasn't for a while. It was be honest, we loved Cleveland, we loved Rochester, New York. Honestly, Dallas is normally fun, also Montana.
Oh
We do
yeah, that's
extremely
right.
well in like Billings and in Great Falls. So
Um, the band, artist, or song that made you first want to become a musician.
Evanescence.
I had a feeling that would be it. The one band or artist that you want to collaborate with the most that you haven't already.
Oh, I would love. I mean, My Chemical Romance. I mean, that's the only that's in my brain for the rest of my life, though, and it probably never will happen. But that's fine. It'll still be there. Or I mean, Amy Lee would be incredible. The idea of doing something with Amy Lee would be insane.
Oh my God, yeah. Your favorite tour memory.
Ooh, probably. Favorite tour memory? Probably walking out on that stage for the first time in an arena. And I was in it because the arena felt different, right? Like being in an arena is so different than being in like an amphitheater or a stadium.
Hmm.
I was like, because it's 100% dark, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it's just loud and you can hear everybody. And it's like, and it's like Nashville. We played Bridgestone Arena and it just was like it was insane, and what was so insane is I had just been there watching Fall Out Boy, and then right before that I had watched Paramore, and then right before that I had watched um My Chemical Romance there, and then just
Wow.
now last week I saw Casey Musgraves there, and I was like, I was on that stage, I was there, I've been there, and it's such a magical moment.
Your most embarrassing moment on stage.
Oh, falling off the stage. I've fallen off many of stages. So it's a thing I do.
It's kind of on brand at this
Oh
point.
yes, oh yes. I've also ripped my pants on stage multiple times.
Those kicks will
Oh,
do it to you.
yep.
Your dream tour lineup.
So dream tour. I'm going to tell you the tour that I want to put together, which I kind of have a little bit in my brain. I would love to put a headlining tour together where I have the money to bring out Creeper, which we're both wearing those shirts right now.
Hey.
I want to bring out Creeper. And then I want to bring out this band called Red Hook. They're from Australia. They're really freaking cool. If you haven't jammed them, they have a new record out. Those are the two bands I have on my brain right now that I really want to do. I'd want to add one more. I want to find like a cool, another little like up and coming band, and put them on.
I've told so many people this. I think just a three band bill with you, Creeper, and Dark Divine is like perfect. So when I saw
Yes,
you
I
guys do
love
shows with Dark Divine in the fall, I was like, oh my
Yes,
God, that's two-thirds.
I know. Hopefully Creeper can join us next time.
Absolutely. Um, a place you haven't performed yet that you really want to.
Ooh, probably the Tabernacle here in Atlanta. There's this place called the Tabernacle, and it's our House of Blues, I guess you could say. It's about 2,000 cap. It's just a special place. I went to so many shows there growing up, and I just really want to play there.
I don't blame you. That's I've never been there, but it sounds like an incredible place. I've seen a lot of shows come through there. Um, your favorite thing to do outside of music, if there's
Go to,
anything you have time for outside of music.
yeah, I like to go to Disney World, or I like theme parks in general.
I want to go to Orlando when they open the dark universe with all the Universal monsters. That's a goal.
Opens in May.
And the last question, this is always my favorite one. The song you wrote that means the most to you.
Ooh, probably Hearst for Two. It's about my grandmother passing away. It was such a big momentum killer for me and my brain. It really changed everything for me from there on out. I've been so different, in a good way and in different ways, but I think Hearst for Two that's my song, and we're gonna start playing it live next year, and I'm probably gonna cry every single time. So that's gonna be fun.
I can't say I blame you for having that reaction, but at the same time, that just goes to show how well you did of like conveying that emotion and like bringing it to a musical perspective. And I think that not a lot of artists can really do that convincingly and
Yeah.
authentically. So I
Well,
mean,
thank you. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Um, for this go around, this was everything I had for you. Was there any closing message, anything you want to plug or anything like that?
Hey, just thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me, and hopefully we can talk soon. And I wanna try and help you. So anything that you ever need, you just let me know. So
That really means the world. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the time. I know I told your publicist like 20 minutes. We're like three times
I know what we're like a little
that.
over an hour and yeah, an hour and 15 minutes. That's okay.
Yeah, that's
We
fine.
had a good time. I had a
Oh
great
yeah,
time. Thank you, my friend.
you too. And th give my best to the rest of the band.
I will.
Caleb, Rob, Danny, Nathan, Homer, Cody, all of them, the whole crew.
I got you.
I can't wait to see you all again.
Yes, I'll see you soon, my friend.
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right,
you.
later, brother.